Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Live Team Alliance training session for Monday, July 22nd, 2019. Time right now is approximately 9:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, as usual, before we get started with training, I would like to welcome our new students. Those of you who are joining us in training for the first time, whether you are here live training with us tonight or you're watching the replay of this, you have surely made a wise decision by choosing to train with us. There's going to be a great deal of information that's going to be shared with you about the market. The more important information that you're going to be exposed to is what the market reveals to you about yourself in this process. Primarily the levels of patience and discipline that you do not have yet. This is something that for a lot of people is disturbing at first because, you know, most people believe that they have a level of patience and they have discipline already. The market quickly shows you that that's not the case. As a matter of fact, the market is a mirror and it's going to expose you to yourself. But the good thing about it is that you're in the right environment, you're in the right place in order to rectify your lack of patience and your lack of discipline. Okay, so it's not anything to be alarmed about. You know, it's nothing to get frustrated over. You're in the right place to rectify whatever's going on with you. You know, if it's not that, it'll be something else. So whatever it is, you're here to deal with it, you know, head first, like just head on. We don't run away from ourselves here. You know, we actually are dealing with ourselves in the training process, and we understand that that's part of it because the market has so much to do with you. It's showing you yourself. You may not always like what you see, but like I said, you're in the right place in order to rectify whatever it is. So I encourage you to definitely, and especially if you're new, to ask questions. If you have questions about anything that you hear me mention throughout the training, or you have questions in general, whatever the questions are, I encourage you to ask them because some of the best clarity comes from the questions that you guys ask, especially when you're new. The first thing that I want you to do when you get off training tonight, if you're here live, if you're not present, you've already been instructed to do this, but is to watch training number 336, training number 390, and training number 301 in that order. So 336, 390, and then 301. Now, once you watch 301, after that, you need to keep number 301 on repeat on a daily basis, whether you watch it or whether you listen to that training. 301 needs to remain on repeat in your ear. It's like flavor in your ear. So you need to focus your attention and direct your energy to that information, whether you're doing it at the conscious level or you're doing it at the subconscious level. I recommend both, but I definitely recommend the subconscious level. And what I mean by that is get yourself some earbuds, right? Put the earbuds in every day, and I don't care what it is that you're doing. Find time to just listen to the training, even if you can't watch it. You know, you got a phone, you got a tablet, you got a laptop, whatever device you have, press play on it. 301 on repeat. Okay, I encourage you to do that. Literally, let that be. If you don't remember nothing else, remember that. You need to do that every single day because this is a part of the training process. It's through the repetition and the reinforcement that you learn. That's how you get it. You're not going to learn it by, you know, I mean, not to say that you're not going to, but you're not only going to learn it by trying to pick apart when you hear it or when you watch the video. Like, you know, you're going to take notes, you're going to write things down. Oh, the 5 plus 1, okay, back tick, this, that, bang, boom, boom, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, stability. Like, you're going to do all of that, and that's fine. But I encourage you just to listen to the training every day. When you do that, that repetition is training you the same way. And it's really doing it at a deeper level because your brain is intentionally using a defense mechanism to not let information in. This is something that your brain does. That's why you'll question everything. Well, Mark, I don't understand this. Well, Mark, why do we use 83 and 17? I don't understand why. See, that's your brain trying not to let the information get into it. So there's nothing wrong with asking that, but you're going to be directed to watch 301 and listen to 301 again every time you ask a question, because that's how the answer will come to you. It's through the repetition. You'll begin to understand the why. You'll begin to get the light bulbs that go off. And as the light bulbs go off, they shed light and they give you clarity. All right? All right, so we're going to get into some training. We're going to actually build on what we started talking about yesterday. I am going to give a basic kind of synopsis of the platform and what you're looking at on the platform. This is the Nadex platform. On the Nadex platform, we trade specifically what are called 5-minute binary options. The majority of people that use Nadex, they're scared to death of 5-minute binary options because they think that, you know, oh man, you can lose your money every 5 minutes. You could lose your money every 5 minutes. You could also make money every 5 minutes, but we don't want to do anything every 5 minutes. That's not what we're doing. What we are doing is we're utilizing this instrument specifically to help us to identify the right timing of taking a trade when the market permits us to. So the instrument is there to capitalize on when the market gives us permission to take trade. What do I mean by permission? Through its behavior and through the environment of the market and the condition that it gets into, the market lets us know when the time is right to even be in a trade. Okay? So anything that you would qualify as a valid trade, a good trade, ooh, that was a nice trade, all of that is wonderful. But if you do that at the wrong time, you'll still lose. And that's the part right there that people can't get past. They don't understand that. Man, that was a good trade. I don't know what happened. What happened is the market happened. And the less that you know about the market, the more that will frustrate you because you just don't understand the market yet. The beautiful thing is that you guys are here now, and now you're in position to learn about the market, to actually observe and study, and to develop real skill in the market. And this is where you're going to begin to elevate. So it doesn't matter what your experience level is. Some of you just started everything. You know, you don't even know what a binary is yet. You know, you don't understand the platform. You don't understand nothing. You are in the best position ever. You starting with a clean slate. It's wonderful. You know, you're not polluted by a lot of stuff coming from Forex. And that's really what it is. A lot of people have been polluted by information and misinformation that really doesn't lead to anything that ultimately will allow you to make money consistently. So now you're going to be exposed to something that has no fluff at all. It's just hardcore, straight to the point, raw market skill. That's what you're learning here. Well, Mark, I thought I was learning how to trade the binaries. No, you're learning how to use the binaries. Okay, they're a tool for us to use in order to make money off of our understanding of the market. That's what you're here to do. See, nobody ever explained it to you like that because they don't know. So we're here to learn, and we have a specific protocol that we use in order to actually apply in the market to get information from the market that lets us know if and when the time is right. Once the time is right, we know exactly what rules to apply in order to fine-tune an entry into the market. So everything that we need, in other words, is here. It's present. And that's it. So like I said, you guys are in the right place. Marty says, so when you say market, what is the market? What kind of market are we in? Excellent question. This is why I love when you guys come on brand new. Because you're going to ask questions, and through the training, I'm answering the questions as we go along. Watch. So anytime that you hear me make reference to the market, specifically on this platform, when you look up in this area at the top left, this area up here is called the binary ladder. Now, if you look where that symbol is, the letters, GBP/USD, that stands for Great British Pound /US dollar. That is the market. That GBP/USD is the symbol for the market that we're watching, which is the Great British Pound versus the US dollar. Excuse me. These markets are based on underlying currency pairs. That's why it's called a pair, because, excuse me, sorry about that. It's called a pair because it has two actual currencies in it. One is the Great British Pound, and the other one is the US dollar. Combined, they make up one market. So this is one market. GBP/USD is one market. That's the market that we're watching. So the market itself is represented by what we call the indicative price. So this number right here represents the market. Right now it's at 1.24662. Over here, the numbers next to the symbols, like 2471, 69, 67, 65, and 63, those are the options. These represent the strikes, or the strike prices of the actual binaries that I was referring to earlier, the 5-minute binaries that we actually use. The market itself is over here, the indicative price. And the GBP/USD is the symbol for that market. Now, the reason that you have these option prices where they are is because of where the market currently is. So understand that the reason that you even have options is because of the underlying market. So we study what this does, the market. We're not even focusing on the binaries yet. We're not even there yet. It's not relevant yet. The market is what we begin with. So the first thing that we do when we come on the platform is we want to know how fast is the market moving. This is called environment. This is the first phase. This price moves. If you look at it, watch. You see how right now it's at 24672. You see the last digit of the price, the 2? You see how it just changed? It just went to 69, 68, now it's at 67. It's going to change again. Keep watching. That's 7, it just went to 6. It's going to change again. It went to 4, went to 1. So you see that every time that the market moves, the last digit of the price is changing. Whatever number that you see the price changing by represents the speed in the market. So ideally for us, the speed that we want to see predominantly is 1. So in other words, right now it's at 5.9. We want to see it go either to 60 or to 58. It went to 61. So it jumped by 2. It's at 61 now. We're going to keep watching just to get an idea of what the speed is. So it went from 61 to 60. Now it's at 60. We're going to keep watching it. 60 back to 61. Back to 60. 59. 57. Let's see one more. 55. So now, look. You can see that there were a number of different speeds as we observed that price action. We saw some 1s and we also saw some 2s. The fact that we're seeing that many 2s, we want to see more 1s than 2s. We want to see more 1s than any other number. We want the 1s to dominate the movement. So we watch and observe this market until we see that. So we begin really this process of observation of the speed right around the 2-minute mark. So actually right now, you see how it's 2 minutes left over here on the clock? Now we really kind of start looking to see what the speed actually is. So we'll do it right now. We'll do the exercise. So we got 6 back to 5, back to 6, And we're just going to watch the speed right now, just to get a feel for the environment. 6 to 7, 7 to 9, there's a 2. 9 to 51, there's another 2. So you see how you're seeing 2s. There's a 1, there's another 1. One. Still waiting. What the market is doing right now is it's pausing. So, was it at 51 just now? I forgot. Anyway, so 9, 8, 7, 6. So those are all 1s. Six to 8, that's 2. 8 to 9, that's 1. 9 back to 50, that's 1. 50 to 53, that's 3. So that you saw that jump. So overall, if you look at what the overall speed was doing, there were a lot of 1s, but there were a couple of 2s, and there was a 3. Now, we want to see that the overall speed is 1. So we want the 1 to dominate the movement in the market. Speed is a powerful indicator for us because anytime you see speed bursts, like you see just jumps of moves, 3 micropip jumps, and by the way, the last digit of the movement of the price, that last digit is referred to as the micropip. So anytime I'm talking about speed, we're looking at the last digit, the micropip. We want to see what that's changing by. So anyway, anytime that you're seeing bursts of speed in movement, those speed bursts are representative of, you know, funniness going on in the movement because behavior hides inside of the speed. So anytime there is bursts of speed and, you know, when the market slows down, you're starting to see it move up and then move back, and it's jerking around. Like, these are all elements of environment and behavior kind of fused in together. Speed bursts is actually a type of behavior that the market does. It's speed, yes, and the fact that it's moving at that speed and it's bursting is letting you know that the overall environment is still not quite there. It's transitioning. It's trying to get there. In other words, it's trying to get into the actual environment that we want it to be in. The environment that we want to see is 1 micropip of movement. The reason that we rely on that is because we ultimately want to make our way to a stable market environment. And in order for the environment to be stable, we don't want to see the bursts of speed. We really don't want to see that. So if you're seeing that, it's an indication, it's letting us know that the overall environment is not quite there yet, but it is attempting to transition, meaning that it's trying to transition into a stable environment. It might do it, it might not. It might continue to do that for a while. Regardless of what, until you see for yourself and you observe that the market is giving you consistent, dominant speed of 1, until you see that, you remain in this phase where you keep watching until you feel comfortable. Like, you want to feel good about the environment being slow because that's what we're aiming for. We want to see the market position itself in a slow condition. We don't want to see the market position itself in a funny looking condition. We know that we're not quite there yet if the market is still doing that. So this is why environment is so powerful. Because within environment, you'll see stuff like speed bursts. You know, you'll see stuff like the market speeding up out of nowhere. So you know that you just need to wait for the market to slow back down again. And mind you, this is just the first phase. But because of the way that we process our thinking in the market, we're able to detect when there is instability even within speed. I know that I talk about instability when we refer to behavior, but you can detect instability when the speed is acting funny. You didn't know that, did you? What you think a speed burst is? It's instability. But anyway, so when we're in the first phase, we're looking at environment. This is what we're looking for. We want to see that dominant speed of 1 micropip. That's what we want to see. You know, maybe a 2 here and there, but we don't want to see 3 2s and, you know, a 3 and a, you know, like you don't want to see too much of the speed bursts, and you don't want to see too much of increase in speed too often. You want to see the 1 micropip movement dominate, and that's how you know that you're in the right environment. Now, once you establish that you're in the right environment, that confirms the first phase. The first phase is environment. How fast is the market moving? That's the answer to the question that we want to see. Okay, market is moving, is dominating 1 micropip. All right, cool. Then we move on to behavior. Now, when we get into behavior, that's when it gets very interesting, because now we're going to look at how the price is moving, because it's slowed down enough for us to see the detail of the movement. The same way in the physical world. If you see a race car driver doing 250 miles an hour on the speedway, you can't see his face. You don't know who's driving the car. You barely see the car. You just see something moving. It's moving way too fast. Now, when he does the victory lap, and he slows down, he's doing 25, now you can see who's driving. You probably can see his eyes. You see? Because he slowed down. Now you can see the details because it's moving slower. So the same principle applies to the market. That's what we look for. All right, that's why we wanted to slow down. Let me go back for a second. Marty says, so what is the 1 going to do for us? The 1 lets us know that the speed present is dominant at 1. It's letting us know that that's the slowest really that the market can move. And when you're seeing that that's what the market is doing predominantly, it lets us know that it's in a slow condition. She says, so the environment is hot and cold. No, not like... That's the first time I got that one. And I understand why you said that, but no. The environment, and I guess actually if you want to think about it like that, it's kind of like that, because we are taking the temperature of the market, so to speak. We're getting an idea of how fast it's moving. So if you can kind of think of it in terms of that, you know, hot would be fast, right? I guess if you, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I'm messing around with hot and cold. I'm doing that because that's what you said. But it's really just fast and slow, and in between. The market is moving fast, or it's moving slow, or it's transitioning either to or from fast or slow. That's basically what the environment represents. It represents the speed of the market. Slav is crazy. This is the first day, Slav. First day. Yo, y'all are hilarious. So the speed of the market, we want to be slow so that we can see the behavior of the market. Does that make sense to you? The reason that we want to see the behavior is because we want to see how is it moving. If it's moving too fast, you're not able to see the details at all. You can't see the details. If it slows down, now you can see the details. That's where understanding of behavior comes in. And so you can see how one thing leads right into the next thing. One thing leads right into the next thing. So we begin with environment, then that takes us into behavior. So once we see that the market is slow enough, then we move on to behavior, and then we begin to observe and to study how it's moving. Now, when I say how is it moving, that is making a specific reference to how is the price actually moving and what is it doing when it moves. For example, this current minute just now, this, you see it displayed as a candle on the chart. When you're looking at the actual movement of the price, you want to see how did this candle actually get created. Like, I'm using the visual of the candles because that's just what I'm doing right now. But I don't want you to get confused by looking at the candles, especially if you're new. The candle is just a visual representation of what the price is doing. Also, anytime that we're doing our observation, we want to look at the actual indicative price. In other words, this price up here. So on the chart, you can see the price as well, the number in the black box. But that's not the number that we go by. The number that we actually go by is the actual indicative price, the actual price of the market. Okay? So the candles are the after effect of whatever the price did, and that's the visual representation that you get, is what the candles look like. But what you're really doing is you're looking to see how did the price actually move. And the reason that we're doing that is because we need to understand if the market is moving and if it's remaining wherever it moves to. So just think about the idea of that. When it moves, does it stay where it moved to? Or is it moving and then coming back? Is it moving back and forth? Or is it moving and staying put? You see? And yes, it did. Yes, it did. The 1015, trying to think, was I just looking at that? Was there pricing on it at first? Or did it price out? What did it do exactly? That 1015. Pricing was there. So what else was the parameters in place? What was your distance looking like? Oh, you got 5. Okay. Bonnie said you got 5 plus 1. Bonnie, what price did? How far up did it go? Above 24.67. What's the highest price you saw above 24.67? That's for you, Bonnie. I knew you was doing something in the background. You didn't screenshot? No, I'm just saying when you saw it, you were looking, right? So when you were watching, what price did you see the price go as high as? Above 24.67. Did it go up to 246.76? Yes or no? Oh, she said yes. Anybody else saw 246.76? And also, did it go to 7.6 before or after it priced out? Oh, it went after. Okay, so Troy said it was after 30 seconds that it hit the 6. Okay. All right, so it ultimately priced out before it got to +1. That sounds about right from what everyone is saying, including Bonnie. Okay. All right, cool. All right, very good. Yeah, that was a close one if that's the case. And Otis, the only problem with doing that with the candle is that you don't know if the indicative did that. Remember that this price moves different than the actual indicative. Sometimes this might give you more or less. It may give you more or less than what the indicative actually does. So we can never go off of what the candles do. We can never go off of what the price on the chart is doing. We going off of what the indicative is doing. And that's why, you know, we even take it to the next level where we take the chart off sometimes. You're able to do the process without the chart. You don't even need the chart. You know just by looking at the prices of the strikes for the options and looking at the price of the market, where it went and how it behaved. You know what the speed was. You know literally everything I just went through, all of that information you get from just this. That's how powerful this process is. That's how amazing this skill is, that we don't even need the chart. Slav said, I also see the indicative index on the ticket being different from the indicative price sometimes. No, never. No, they are always the same. When you open up a ticket and you see the Nadex indicative index on the ticket, that is the exact same thing as the indicative price. They do not differ. They are doing the exact same thing. One might be moving slightly faster than the other, but it's going to move on the ticket. In other words, whatever it does on here, it's going to do on the ticket. Now the chart is not like that. Sometimes you'll see the indicative move and the chart won't. Sometimes you'll see the chart move and the indicative won't. But that'll never be the case on the ticket. Whatever this is doing, this is doing. He said, I watched some of your vids of you taking some trades in the blueprint. I saw index and price were a bit different, like you were waiting for a +1 and you got in the ticket and took the trade while the price stayed and didn't give the +1. If it didn't give the +1, it didn't do that anywhere. Like if I was looking at the ticket price, if it didn't give it here, it didn't give it here either. I'm just saying, regardless of what I did, if you didn't see it here, it didn't happen here. Now these two are the same exact movement. They're the same. Look, see how 6-2, 6-2. They always are the exact same movement. But down here on the chart, this is not always the same as these two. This is the one that is going to be different, the chart. So that's why even if you don't have the chart up and you're looking at the ticket, these are going to be the exact same movement. Always. And no, I agree. There could be a delay, but it's a slight delay that, like, if one is delayed, it catches up. That's what I'm saying. It ain't going to delay and stay there. Like the ticket does that. Not the ticket, excuse me. The chart does that. Sometimes the chart does not reflect what you see going on the ticket and on the indicative price up here in the ladder. This will be doing something totally different sometimes than what these are doing. These always will match, even if one has a slight delay. And I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why I'm talking about it. Yeah, like I'm looking, if I don't have a ticket up at the time, I'm looking at the ladder. But most of the time I have a ticket up until I actually get into the trade. Or even if I don't get into the trade, if I'm just observing, I'll have the ticket up and I'm looking at the indicative from here. Or if I'm too lazy to do that, I'll just do it from here. Sometimes I'm too lazy to open up the ticket, and I'll just I'll do it from here. But I recommend that you guys use the ticket because you want to get into the habit of having the ticket up and open so that you can do everything. Just from the ticket, you can see indicative price. You can see the option pricing. You know, you can enter your information down here for the threshold and all of that. Everything that you need to do, you can do by having the ticket open. It's a good practice to have. All right, observe this. Observe this. Tell me what DQ'd this first. What was the first thing that DQ'd this just now? Walker said the price out. Who agrees? Bonnie said back tick. Slav said back tick. Chip said back tick. Interesting. Now here comes the OG. Distance. You may have distance out the gate. What'd you have? 4.8. So all right. In order, let's go through what DQ'd that just now. First thing was distance. Then it was the pricing. So Matthew said distance. He was right. The next thing was the price out. Walker said that. He was right. The back tick was not relevant because it took place before you got distance. Does that make sense? If you don't have distance yet, what are you measuring the back tick from? You have to measure the back tick from the market being in position. This is why I like to talk about this getting in position and being in position, remaining in position, out of position. I like to talk about this because it gives more clarity on what we do already, which you guys always hear me say. This is a good topic right now of conversation as far as going into the nuance of the parameters. Bonnie said, I had market in position for a sell and a back tick at 22.23. How was it in position for a sell if you didn't have distance? Explain that to me. And everyone is free to explain that, not just Bonnie. But I'm suggesting, or I'm asking for the explanation based on what Bonnie just said. He said market was in position for a sell and then it back ticked. My question is how did you have position if you didn't have distance? Because you said in position for a sell. So you're saying that it was in position for a trade. But how did you have that if you didn't have the distance? Is my question. And Bonnie, you're looking at the pound, right? You're looking at the GBP? She said from the strike at 6.7, it was at 6.64. Back tick at 22.23. 22.23. So you mean with a minute and change left? Okay, so I'm curious, why are you measuring with over a minute left versus under a minute? Oh, you DQ'd it when it was a minute and change left? And you're saying, oh, okay, I got you. So you DQ'd it based on the back tick with that much time left, is what you're saying. Okay. Why are you DQing that early? Or let me rephrase the question. Wait, hold on. Before we get into that, let's watch this. Let's observe. What you would need to see here is 5-4. Right? You got 5, you got no 4. What happened even before that DQ'd that one? Exactly. Otis said it priced out. Wendell, pricing ain't there. Yep. Okay, let me backtrack to Bonnie again. Bonnie said, I thought we started to apply parameters at 1:30. We do apply parameters at 1:30, but what's the first parameter? Right. So the first parameter is speed, then why are you doing a backtick? At what point is the backtick applicable? Time-wise, clockwise. And I see this is gonna bring clarity for you, because it's something that I see you've been doing. Because you're doing this, and like you're saying it matter of factly, like this is what I do. So I know that you do it. But I'm asking you now to go through it again, and you tell me at what point is the backtick applicable with how much time left on the clock. Right. Exactly. So tell me specifically, what do we do at 1:30? Like, explain it to me. Not in one word, but I want you to break down what we actually do at 1:30. Okay. So, and how do we do that? How do we do that? And then up to what time on the clock? So we do that from 1:30 to when? Nope, you jumping the gun now. She said, till we DQ or pull the trigger. No. We nowhere near pulling the trigger. Right. Always an observation. And right. So, from 1:30 until what time left on the clock are we observing the speed, like measuring the speed to make sure that we still have 1 micropip of dominance? So from 1:30 to when do we do that? Ignore with that. Ignore the 0. Don't let nobody push you around, Bonnie. Don't let nobody bully you. She said, I watch it until I make a commitment to DQ or not. No, maybe I'm not being, am I not being clear with the question? So, okay, let me rephrase the question again. Specifically with the first parameter, which is speed at 130, specifically with only that parameter, up to what time left on the clock from the minute and 30 mark are you observing the speed to make your determination as to whether or not the speed is still in place at 1 micropip of dominance? From 130 to when? In other words, from 130 to what time left on the clock before you move on to the next parameter? Maybe now that'll help you to understand what my question is. Because the first parameter is from there we go. Now we talking. Right. So from 130 to a minute is the first parameter. And this is why I do this. This is exactly why I do this, because it provides us with clarity. It's never just for one person. This clarifies it even for me. This is why I gotta always go through it. Yes, exactly. Wendell said we help out. Yep. Slav said I forgot and wasn't sure. Now you see why we train the way that we do. This is exactly why we do this. So, yes, from 130 to 1 minute, that is the first parameter. What's the second parameter? And what time on the clock does it start? Second parameter, what time left on the clock does it start? And this is for Bonnie, this is for Slav. Matter of fact, Bonnie and Slav. It almost sounds like Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Slav. Second parameter, what is it? And how much time left on the clock does it begin from? Come on, yo. Slav said from a minute. Because I'm reading, I'm like, wait. Did he say from a minute to 45 seconds? All right. So Bonnie said monitor behavior. Slav is guessing. Bonnie then says from 1:30 to the end. Wait, what is 1:30 to the end? Oh, well, we know that. But that's not the question I'm asking specifically. Right now, I'm talking about when you apply the parameters, right? We know that we're going to monitor behavior. We know that. But right now, we're in phase 3. When you're in phase 3, right, so under a minute, that's when that's when the second parameter starts. What is the second parameter? Thank you, Jesus. Dallas is like, yo, distance. Dallas got tired of you. He was like, listen, y'all taking too damn long. Yes, the distance. Bonnie said, look at how the price is moving and holding or jerking around. Once you see the behavior moves into position and holds during the last minute, move on to the next step, which is 5 and then +1. Yes. So, again, let me ask the question again, Bonnie. What is the second parameter? What specifically out of what you just said? No. Not the second phase. The second parameter in the third phase. Okay. The parameters are in what phase? Distance, yes. Now you got it. Don't get technical. And don't confuse it. Do not confuse yourself. Don't do it. You right on the cusp of doing it. Don't do it. Come back. Just distance. Second parameter is distance. Bonnie said it. 5. Distance, 5. That's the requirement, yes? Slav? Yes? Okay. Distance is 5. What does the +1 represent? And what does it represent? Bonnie and Slav. 1 micropip moving the speed. Yes. So again, that's the third parameter. The +1 is the third parameter. It's a speed check again to make sure that we still at 1. Because what happens if you get +3? What immediately happens if you see a +3 after the 5? DQ. Bingo. Bingo. Excellent. So, assuming that we do get +1, we got 5 and we got +1. And I actually want to give a different scenario of the 5 + 1 because I want you guys to really get it now while we have an opportunity to do it this way because you're focusing on it right now. So your energy's there right now on 5 + 1. So let's talk about 5 + 1 for a moment. Under the minute mark, we start out at 2. How do we get to 5 + 1? Explain it to me. Explain how that looks. What does the market do to bring us from 2 to 5 + 1? Tell me what it has to do, and be specific. Slav said 1 micropip at a time to 5, and then once we add 5, we need 1 more. Yes. Walker, 3, 4, 5, +1. Bingo. Bonnie moves the 5, hold, and then add 1 micropip. I'm not going to say no, because I understand why you said hold. I got you. Slav is hating. He said he knew every day. Wow, that's a good response. I like that. I like that. He put thought into it. He's like, yeah, I got you. I'm new today. All right, so very good. So let's do another scenario. We are under a minute mark. We are at 7. Under a minute, we're at 7. What does the market have to do to give us the 5 + 1? And this is for Bonnie and Slav. Slav has to give us a +1. Yes. Bonnie says move to 6. You're about to answer your own question. Keep going. Where did I say it started at? It started at 7. So everything you just mentioned is impossible. So what would it have to be? Wendell said you got the hot potato. Stay there, or what do you need to have the 5 + 1? Or let me rephrase. There we go. Then you got it. There you go. You got to go to 8. You need the +1. Yep. You guys got it now. And it's recorded. So that's how we deal with the distance and speed parameters. They are 2 separate parameters, but they're one and the same when you go through the process. Don't worry about that. Bonnie said you won't likely get pricing at 8. You don't necessarily know that. And if you do get pricing at 8, you need to see examples of that also, so that you can also be educated on what that means. And I'm not going to tell you what it means. If you ever see that, you know in your mind what you should be doing as far as the process goes. The market will also show you more, and you'll get an education directly from the market when a scenario that way presents itself. Now, some are already familiar. If I was to ask that question, if you got pricing and you 7 micropips already in place, what is that likely to mean? But I'm not going to ask that, because I want you to see that for yourself at some point. Well, yeah, you hit it right on the head. You hit it right on the head. She said it seems that it would indicate that it is out of sync. Exactly. Adam said it could be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Affirmative. Very good. And just the fact that you even already knew that, Bonnie, that right there already makes me very happy. Because I know that means you've already been observing. To know that. That's hard what she said. Did y'all hear what she said? She said you won't likely get pricing at 8. That's hard. That's hard right there. Otis said you then want to continue to watch behavior. Yep. Wendell said you answering all your own questions. Yep. Eric don't think that the wolf is enough. He said, nah, it's going to be a Tasmanian devil. A retarded Tasmanian coming to get you. Yep. Exactly. All right, so I'm glad that we're clear on that now, because, you know, this is what the repetition does. It gives you more detail on stuff that you do already. What's the next parameter after 5 + 1? Come on, Bonnie, quick. Come on, Slav. What's the next one? Bonnie, back ticks. There we go. Eric and Dallas, what are you talking about? Eric said distance. He got to laugh at himself on that. Dallas said price. Come on, Dallas. So do you agree with yourself, or you agree with what Bonnie said? Bonnie said backtick. What you think about that, Dallas? Eric says speed, distance, or distance speed. It's distance speed. 5 + 1. Okay. Kev got it. Backtick. Dallas, what you think about the backtick? Yes. Now we talking. The backtick before pricing. Slav said we're observing for no backtick even in speed and distance. It's all one and the same. And that's a good question. Let's go through a scenario like that. Let's say that you start at 5. And I want you to think about this, Slav. You may not have been exposed to when we actually went over this specifically, but I just want you to think about it logically before you answer. We're at 5, under a minute. Market moves to 4. Then it goes to 5, and then it goes to 6. What just happened? And only Slav answer. Think about it. Just think about that for a second. I'm going to give you another scenario. So let me repeat the first one. The first one was it starts at 5, goes to 4, then it goes to 5, then it goes to 6. That's the first one. Second one is it goes from 5 to 6 to 5. Which of the two represent backtick, or do both represent backtick, or do neither one represent backtick? Only Slav answer. And his first inclination is to say both. Well, think about the difference between the two. Remember that if the 5 is the requirement and it starts at 5, right? If the market's first move is 4 and then 5 and then 6, what did it actually do as far as movement goes? You said, I don't know. MRMH? I don't know. What is it? All right. And I'm just giving you this scenario because you'll see a scenario like this, and I don't want you to DQ the trade in that scenario. If it begins at 5 and you see a 4 and then 5 and then 6, because you're seeing the subsequent movement take place afterwards, it's not like you got movement beyond the 5 first. That's why I gave you the second one. If it went from 5 to 6 and then back to 5, that's different. Because the first move was forward and then backwards. If it started at 5, the first movement was backwards and then forward. So because we're starting at 5, if we're using that as the start point, it's different if you saw 5 to 4 to 3. That's clearly backticking. It's moving back. But if it starts at 5 and then the first or the immediate movement is a 4 and then it proceeds to give you 5, 6, maybe even 7, now you have validation. So that's the one nuance. That's a nuance. That's a very specific thing that takes place. And I'm just explaining the logic behind it, because sometimes when you are at the beginning of the next 1 minute period, the first movement might be back. But the back tick that we make reference to is when the movement was forward first and then back. So if it's progressing and then it moves back, that's different than the starting point being that first back move. And this is in a situation where it begins at 5. Like if it started at 6 and you got 6, 5 forward, back tick. Start out at 6, went to 7, then back to 6, back tick. So I'm giving you different scenarios because you'll see instances of that, and you'll know just by looking how to judge whether or not it's a backtick, so that you're making it less technical. And we said, are those auto DQs? Or which ones auto DQs? Five to six and then back. Yes, that's a DQ. That's a DQ. It goes from 5 to 6 and then back to 5. DQ. Because anytime that it moves forward, you want it to continue to move forward or you want it to remain. You need it to stay there so that you have time to let the clock run out, and you also have time to witness option pricing, right? If it's moving back, the movement back will do something to the pricing of the option anyway. That's why the back tick is automatically going to DQ when it's not in progression. If it's not progressing and moving forward, so if it's not moving in position and then remaining there, and it moves back, that movement back does something to the option pricing anyway. Because the option pricing follows the market. If it moves forward and remains, now you can actually have the time that you need to see option pricing progressively move towards your strike price. Not your strike price, your threshold price. So when we see favorable pricing and you see that the price is at 74 and you get 5 plus 1, 45 seconds left on the clock, it's in the 70s, and it's still at the plus 1 spot. In other words, it's still at 6, just sitting there. It's at 6, pricing is at 70, progressively making its way towards 83, 75, 77.50, 79.50, 82. Then you look at the clock; it's 31 seconds left on the clock. I'm giving you the scenario. 31 seconds left. There was no backtick. Pricing was favorable, and you see how much time was left on the clock. Now you have guidance for when you are going to look for the follow-through trades to come. You know that it priced out at 31 seconds. That's a lot of information that the market is giving you. See? Slide said it can't be 2 back ticks if it goes from 5 to 4 to 3. Yeah, 5 to 4 to 3 it's over. 5, 4, 3, and then 4, 5. It's over at 5, 4, 3. 5, 4, 5, 6. We good. Bonnie said, I have a question about terminology definition. When you say the market is going into transition, what exactly do you mean? In other words, it's transitioning from one state to another. So if you're looking at the speed, let's say we're in phase 1, and I say market is transitioning. What I'm saying is that the market is attempting to slow down. I'm not saying the market slowed down. That's the whole meaning of transition. It's not absolute as of yet. It's in the process of. Right? If it's in transition, it's in the process of. So in other words, we almost there, but we ain't there yet. And it's like, well, Mark, how do you know it's in transition? You know. Just look at it. It look funny. If you say it look funny, it's in transition. Because the transition represents that funny that you're talking about. Funny means I'm not sure what it's actually doing right now. It looked like it's kind of fast, but it's slowing down too. What is it doing? It looked funny. It's in transition. That's what it's doing. If it was fast, that's letting you know that now you're beginning to see signs of slowing down, but there's still a level of speed present. It's in transition. It looks funny. As soon as it stopped looking funny, you know that the market slowed down. She said basically just means something with the behavior is changing. Yes, you can apply that to the speed. You can apply that to behavior. Absolutely. Because in actuality, they're the same thing. We're just looking at them separately because they represent two different perspectives of the same thing. Slav said another question I had earlier about backticks. Forgot to ask. If you're on first parameter and you're trying to confirm speed, nope. Backtick does not apply at all until you're under a minute. Let me repeat that. Backtick does not apply until you are under the minute mark. Period. Matter of fact, none of the remaining parameters apply. So you can't tell me, oh, I DQ because it was priced out. If it's 2 minutes left. If it's 1:30 left. It's 1:15 left. If you're telling me, oh, it's priced out. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but you still need to wait until you're under the minute mark. Once you're under the minute mark, then you can say, all right, yeah, it's priced out. All right. So you follow the protocol all the way through. So I said if you can't get the right speed for the first parameter before it gets to a minute left, that's a DQ as well. That's a good question. And yes, if at the 1:30 mark it starts speeding, it's DQ'd automatically. You're right. That speed is definitely going to DQ that, and then you go right back into phase one, which means you're waiting now at that point for the market to slow back down, which means that you don't really want to even bother with applying the parameters at that point because you know the speed is now present. So you already know that the market is moving too fast. And you need to know, not need to know, but you know that you need to wait for it to slow back down again. Period. So you kind of just adjust. You're like, all right, this is too fast. Let me go back to phase one and wait. Then you go back into phase one. Meaning that from that point, you pretty much just look at the behavior, if you want to, or just wait until the next binary, start over. Go back into phase one. Wait for it to slow back down again. And the reason that I'm suggesting that you do it that way is because you know it's easy to do it that way versus getting frustrated when you're seeing everything not be in alignment at all. If it speeds up, you're gonna see that speed. If you continue to watch after that, and you go through the process of trying to apply the parameters, you're gonna get frustrated because you're gonna be like, oh, dang, man. It looked like it was about to set up. When even if it was about to set up, what does that mean if it's moving fast? You know that the environment is not right. Even if it was even if it did set up, and your behavior is not present, what does it mean? You know that the behavior is not right yet. So why even take yourself through the frustration of dealing with the market at all until you get the first two phases confirmed solid? Does that make sense? So just like how we know when we're in this environment like what we're in right now, whatever tool you decide to use, you might, see the market slow down like this. You know that your environment is in. You're looking at how behavior looks. Behavior looks pretty good. Boom, you go to option pricing exercise. You might do that. Or you might start looking at position. If you look at position, you're waiting to see the market position itself relative to a strike. You know that that'll get you closer to a potential trade setting up. It's not that you're using it to get into a trade. You're using it to identify the position of the market relative to a strike so that if a trade does set up, you're already on it. You know what the strike price is. You don't have to say, man, I wonder what strike price. You know what strike price already. So it's kind of like utilizing the tools to answer all of the questions that you always have. Mark, how do you select the strike price? If you do market position and you know what the strike price is, that's relevant at the time. Which strike price is the price closest to? Oh, let me see. Well, right now it's 5 micropips above this 2463. There you go. That's the strike price that's relevant. Then look, you see this is priced out. It moved in position. The position is right, but it's priced out. What does that mean? It's out of sync. It's out of sync, but you know that behavior is present. How do you know that? Behavior is present. So you might be looking at the position like this. You see that it's in position. See that behavior is present. But it was out of sync. There was no pricing available at all, even when this was in position over here. But you still see that the timing is right. Your timing is right. Look at where the price remained. See, you can see that the price is in position and it's staying in position. Now that behavior was funny on that one in particular because that represented a jerk. You're aware of that also. Like, all right, there was a jerk right there. Now that could turn into something else. But you bear witness to it specifically during the last minute of this binary just now. But even before that, the behavior and the positioning of the market was in place. You just didn't have pricing on the option. It was out of sync. So it's like pieces of a puzzle that you just put together. But the way that you always are able to do the process is by applying the protocol. Every time. We could have arrived at the same information by just applying the protocol. In other words, we could have waited just now till this set up. We saw that it had no pricing on it. There's no trade there. Out of sync. It's the same result. If we were looking at market positioning, it's the same result. It's in position, but it's out of sync. Same result. Right? So it didn't matter what tool that you were using at the time. And the bottom line is that you're not even attempting to take action as far as trading until you get permission anywhere. And permission comes from when an actual trade validates and sets up during this time. Like this is the time now, if a trade would have set up, that we would get permission. But what if no trade sets up during this time? We ain't got no permission yet. There's nothing to do here. You see what I'm saying? There's nothing to do yet. So that's why, you know, when you go through the process, it always keeps you away from FOMO. Like you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. Because the market needs to do a number of things. You're not just waiting for it to do one thing and then pull the trigger and take the trade. It needs to position itself. It needs the right environment. Behavior should be right. Then on top of that, you need a trade to actually set up. You know, a trade only sets up if the market gets in position. So if you want to, watch the position. Look and see how the market is getting in position, if it's getting in position. Powerful tools. Look at all the tools that you have available now. Like it's crazy how much stuff that you can do to get to the same information. And you can do it based on your understanding of and your comprehension of what you're getting from the market so far. For somebody, they might do play-by-play. You might just look at behavior. Like, nah, I'm starting to see jerkiness. I don't like that. Oh, market is moving and holding. Let me go to phase 3. You see, like there's so many different ways that you can go about it now. And none of it is wrong. It's all inclusive. So as your skill elevates, you're able to utilize whatever tool that you choose to, and then you have all of the information that you need to know if it's yay or nay by the market. The market, how often does the market give us environment and behavior with no trade? All the time. All the time. There's also times where you see trades setting up, but the environment and the behavior is not right. Can't take that. You can't do that. If I had to pick one, I would rather you take a trade that looks funny at the right time. And I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying I would rather you do that than try to pick out a good trade. Oh, this looks like a good one right here. Look, it's setting up. What does the environment and the behavior look like? That's what you need to know. Is the environment and behavior in place? Do you know that? If you don't know that, then it doesn't matter how good the trade, aka the setup, looks. That's how people really get really slapped around hard in the market doing that. They'll go to phase 3 at the wrong time. They'll be just, market doing all type of funny acting stuff, and they in phase 3 trying to get into a trade. Talking about I'm 5-0. No. Nope. Yeah, exactly. Slav said, we're still not talking about the trade being able to be taken. We're still in the first MRMH and ain't even a follow-through confirmation. Exactly. Exactly. We just talking about the prerequisite to all of that. You see? Like, this is the process beforehand. And what I'm telling you is that if you perfect the process, everything else falls into place. Like, everything that you want will come if you perfect this process. So that's why we constantly train on the process. Notice we're not trying to train to find out how to enter into trades. Yeah, if you notice, that's not what the training is it? The training is teaching you and training you and conditioning you to perfect the process that we use. So that way a trade, if it comes up, it falls into your lap. You ain't got to look for nothing. It'll be right there, in your face. It'll be in your face, literally. Like, damn, there it is. Right now I'm doing the market position exercise. And this is actually exactly the type of behavior that you want to see the market doing when it's in position. If if you're wondering what I mean, if you look at, matter of fact, let me see if I can get I'm gonna get a little arrow and put like the arrow where it moved in position to where it is now. This is the candle or the minute where it moved in position. Now, if you look at where the price is, right? You see the bottom of this candle? Look at what the price has been doing for the last 4 minutes. It's still in position. It moved and is in position now. It's in position relative to what? It's in position relative to this strike price. So now everything else comes into play. Now your distance comes into play. Now your pricing on the option comes into play. You see? And also the range. This is a very small range of movement right now that we're seeing. It's basically from here and it went as far as down to this point here. And that's like maybe, I want to say About 4 micropips altogether. So about 4 micropips in total is the range of this movement altogether. See, so now when you're looking at where it is, now when you look at it, as your clock is, is counting down, you can already see it's already priced out. The reason that it's priced out is because the behavior is so awesome. The behavior is nice. So you don't have no price in here because the behavior is reflecting that the market moved in position and has held its position for this entire time and is still doing it. So there will be instances where you see this, but the distance will be a little bit closer to the strike. It'll be closer. And if it does this closer to the strike, that's when you see trades set up. Like this is a good example right here to use. What this behavior was throughout here. This is more of an example of positioning. Because it's the market staying within a range after it moved into that range. It moved into position and it basically remained there and it's still there. Even when it came down here, you saw it just move down here and it came right back up in position. That's how strong positioning is when you have the right behavior and the right environment. The reason that this is so solid now is because we're in a slow condition. So all of the movement that you're seeing is taking place within a range. And it's just staying in the range right now. Like it's not doing nothing else. It's just staying in the range. So as you study with this and you observe the market, you're going to see for yourself that the market moves in position relative to these strikes. And when you start to see that more often with the right environment, it's letting you know that the timing is perfect. Timing is right. But that may or may not turn into an actual opportunity to trade because you may not have pricing, and it could still be out of sync. If that's the case, it just is what it is. And you accept it. But that's not always going to be the case. There will be instances and there will be times when the market will get in position just like this. You'll have pricing and all that. You have the right amount of time left on the clock, all of that, everything will line up and become in sync, and the trade will just be sitting there just looking at you. First one that you observe doing that is the MRMH. Next one that you see doing that is the trade. Bang. That's the one that you take, the follow through. So this is the type of environment that you'll see these trades presented during, and you're going to win. Because the timing is right. But the opposite end of that spectrum is that you can't try to force your way into a trade during this behavior. It ain't gonna happen. You gotta wait for the trade to come. And that's where patience comes in. That's why that's the first thing I talk about in training. That has to be built into your DNA. That has to be a part of you, is the patience part. Just wait. You don't gotta try to force nothing. It'll come. Bashar said, seems like to always price out when that happens, so we just wait until it gets close to the strike. Yeah, you'll know it when you see it. See, that's why observation is so powerful, because you see it. So you don't have to wonder. When you're looking at something, you don't have to wonder about it, do you? You wonder about it when you don't see it. When you see it, you don't have to wonder anymore. It's right there. Slav said, my position, yeah, exactly. Seeing is believing. Bingo. My position being so free pretty much all day just gives me such a big advantage with time and patience and more possible opportunity. Yep. Making me want to train 120 hours a day to get good. You see, that's the thing. You can do it however you want to do it. Now, the only thing I don't want you to do is to be stressed out and to burn out. Don't do that. You got to break it up. Like, that's why I tell you to incorporate training into your day. I'm like, yeah, get your earbuds and plug them in. put one earbud in while you're doing other stuff. You know, I'm not saying sit in front of the charts all day. I don't sit in front of the charts all day. I don't do that. I leave and come back. You know, in between I watch The Sopranos or something. You know, Forrest Gump. Whatever's on corny-ass cable. And then I come back on the charts and look. Old Tony the retard. But you know, I've mastered that. Like I could watch a movie and train at the same time. Nobody knows. Nobody knows I'm training. And I'm paying attention to the movie too. That's skill. that right there is a skill within itself. Actually, as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, damn, that is a skill right there. Actually. All right, so this was another solid training, definitely. So once again, new students, inside of the playlist, video number 336, 390, and 301. And like I said, 301 needs to remain on repeat. Tonight's training will be available within about a half hour. Slav and Bonnie, tonight's training was solid for you guys. So I suggest that you guys incorporate tonight's training into your watch list, like, you know, for the next couple of days. And just listen to the playback. It's good. It's powerful. We'll be back on training tomorrow night. Same time, same place. If you have questions or concerns, you can post them in the group chat. Group chat is up 24/7, so there's always somebody in there. You will get a response. And that pretty much covers it. So we'll be back on training tomorrow. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I'll see you momentarily in the group chat. All right? Yep, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. All right, y'all. All right, Marty. Good night, everybody.